Meeting of the Mayor and Council of Princeton, New Jersey. And we will start with our meeting statement.
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, including the time, date, and location of the meeting. In addition, the agenda and all related materials were posted electronically and made available to the public on Princeton's meeting portal in advance of the meeting.
Thank you. David's going to do the land acknowledgement for us tonight.
We gathered today on the land of the Lenni Lenape. As members of the Princeton community, we aspire to show appreciation, respect, and concern for all peoples and our environment. We honor the Lenape and other indigenous caretakers of these lands and waters, the elders who lived here before, the indigenous today, and the generations to come.
Thank you, David. Can we have roll call, please?
Ms. Pearl Lambros?
Here.
Ms. Niedergang?
Here.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Ms. Sacks?
Here.
Ms. Fraga is excused. Mr. Newland?
Here.
Mayor Frida?
Here.
You have quorum.
Thank you. If you wish, would you stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. All right, we have 6 sets of minutes to approve. Eve mentioned to me earlier that she has to abstain on the September 26th meeting. I don't know, Michelle,
And October 17th, I wasn't.
October
absent.
17th for Michelle. Anybody else that has to abstain on any specific dates? David?
I think I have to abstain for the 23rd.
23rd, okay.
These slackers.
Okay, noting those abstentions, would someone like to move the minutes? Thank you, Eve. Is there a second? Thank you, Leighton. Any questions or comments on any of the 6 sets of minutes?
Just a quick comment. Thank you to Rena and the clerk's office for getting all these done. No, it's a lot of work.
Yep, big accomplishment. Thank you. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, announcements and reports. We'll start with the council members. I'm sorry.
Mark, we now need to pass the ones that we pulled out. Don't we need to then vote on
No,
the
the way
minutes?
I asked for the motion was that we would note the abstentions. That's why I asked for the specific. There you go. It's only taken me 3 years, but I figured that one out. All right, announcements, reports, starting up here with the council members. Any announcements or reports for this evening? Okay, I'll just make one quick announcement. I'm a little under the weather, so if I'm a little slower than usual, or if I seem confused, I will catch up. So just give me a break. Anyway, that'll be good. Yes, yeah, I'm not gonna breathe during the whole meeting, so don't worry. Okay. Bernie, any staff announcements or reports? Okay, great. Any, Isaac, do we have anything from you tonight, or you're just, okay, just want to make sure. Thank you. Next up is public comments for items not on the agenda. If you want to speak about something that's not on the agenda, this would be the time to either come up to the microphone, or if you're on Zoom, to raise your hand. All right, nobody in either place, so we'll close the public comment part of the meeting. Thank you. Now we go to the public hearing on 2 ordinances. The first one tonight is ordinance 2023-36, an ordinance by the municipality of Princeton regulating public parking on Witherspoon Street between Nassau Street and Paul Robeson Place / Wigan Street, and amending chapter 19 of the Code of the Borough of Princeton, New Jersey, 1974. Can we get a motion on that? Thank you, Michelle. David's got the second. Okay, let's start up here with council comments, questions. Michelle.
I'd just like to thank Experience Princeton and the business community for creating a forum and getting feedback. I think that's a really good process to have feedback on these types of changes. So I just want to appreciate that. Thank you. And
Okay,
of course, engineering department, which is always on top of it. Thank you.
just for the sake of the public, Deanna, can you give us the 32-second version of what the several pages are?
Yes, I will, Mayor. So within this ordinance, we are amending traffic or parking regulations between Nassau Street and Paul Robeson / Wiggins on Witherspoon Street. Uh, With the completion of Witherspoon Street improvements in that area, there were a few different regulations established. North of Spring Street, we had 30-minute parking in place. South of Spring Street, we have in the morning time before 10 a.m., free 3-minute parking in the service lane during loading times. And then after the loading time ends at 10 a.m., it switched over to free 30-minute parking. Based on feedback from parking operations, parking enforcement, and police, we are amending those regulations in this ordinance by establishing a 90-minute parking time period, paid parking time period in those sections. So between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m., we would continue to have loading zone activities in the service lane between Nassau and Spring Street, but it will solely be loading. We will no longer permit the 3-minute non-commercial vehicle parking. There is parking, 30-minute parking over in the two-lane yard, as well as free 30-minute parking in the garage. So those quick runs in and out of businesses can be accommodated by those parking locations. After the 10 a.m. loading period ends, the parking will change to a 90-minute maximum time limit, and that will be metered parking using a pay station rather than the individual single space meters in the section between Nassau and Spring. North of Spring, it would just be 90-minute parking maximum, and that would be with individual meters. And that's pretty much in a nutshell the idea of the parking
Yeah.
ordinance.
Thank you for that summary. I'm sorry, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Deanna. I just wanted to make a couple of comments. One is that going to 90 minutes, I think, was a really great idea. I wish it was mine, but it wasn't. So thank you for traffic safety. Thank you, Mia. 90 minutes being that it gives you 15 minutes to get to your 1-hour appointment and then another 15 minutes to get back. So, we floated that with businesses and they really liked it. It was a really nice compromise. 30 minutes was always too quick. So I think 90 minutes is great. I never even thought we could do that. So I thought it was a great idea. The other thing I just want to encourage people, once we go, the idea is having kiosks now so that aesthetically it would look really nice in keeping in that lovely area that we put the pavers. But I really want to encourage people to try and use Park Princeton app, which is so convenient, so easy to use, and you don't have to walk down to the kiosk. So I just wanted to mention those couple of things. And the other thing is that I know from the businesses, they are really going to work hard with the garbage and other delivery to come early. And they totally agree that it's just really been a lot of traffic nightmares with the, congestion between the trucks and the passengers. So hopefully this will really alleviate a lot of problems. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. David?
Yeah, and I just wanted to underscore, I think the importance for me of getting rid of the 3-minute free parking. I think I can count on the fingers of one hand the number of times that I've driven down Witherspoon Street and have not gotten stuck behind a garbage truck or a delivery truck parked in the travel lane because there was no space in the loading zone. And so it's really, this is a critically important improvement, not just for those delivery vehicles and for the businesses, but also for residents who have been going through the same frustrations I have.
Thank you. Keith?
Just real quick, I wasn't going to say anything about this, but I just want to say, like, we tried something, it didn't work. Okay. But, I think that I don't want to people to feel discouraged about trying new things or trying a new approach. And, but you know, we need to evaluate as we did here and realize it wasn't working and move on to another alternative. So that's what it's all about is if it works, that's great. If not, let's move on to the next option. So.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Leighton.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Just one thing. Now, as Eve said, we realized we had not gotten it exactly right and we moved to make it right. Just one thing, now that we have established parameters, let us be clear, the establishments on Witherspoon Street need to make sure that within these timeframes, they get their garbage picked up. We don't want to see outside of these timeframes, trucks pulling up because that's not a good look. Thank you.
Okay, any other council comments? All right, seeing none, anyone from the public either in the room or on Zoom that wants to? As usual, come up, say your name and.
Your Honor, Street, and also Executive Director of Experience Princeton. I don't have a long speech or formal remarks, but I do want to underscore the close collaboration that occurred within municipality. I always give my best part before they turn the microphone on. Again, Isaac Kramer, 92 Nassau Street, Director Experience Princeton. I want to acknowledge the close collaboration between the municipality, but also the businesses in the community. The virtual meeting that we held and that we invited over 150 businesses and property owners to. We had a surprisingly good turnout rate of over 20 businesses and other stakeholders participating in that. So I think we learned a lot from that experience. To quote a famous philosopher, you don't always get what you want, but you get what you need. And I think we achieved that here tonight. So I want to give a special thank you and also hope that it characterizes many of our collaborations moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from anyone in the room or anybody on Zoom? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Ms. Niedergang,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Sacks,
Yes.
Mr. Newland,
Yes.
carried.
Thank you. Next up is ordinance 2023-37, an ordinance by the municipality of Princeton regarding bicycles and similar devices and amending chapter 8 of the code of the borough of Princeton, New Jersey, 1974. David?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, I guess, move or request that we carry this to our next meeting. I had a lot of back and forth with staff during the day today, just about a couple of, they're really minor issues, they're definition issues. They will not change the intent of the ordinance, but I think we need a little more time to get them worked out. And I don't want to have, a public hearing tonight on an ordinance that won't actually be before the body. So.
Okay. All right. So that's the motion. Is there a second to that motion? All right. Eve's got the second. I just, and I agree, we don't want to get into a public hearing, but is there anyone that's here tonight that wants to speak to this that isn't available to come to next week's meeting? Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna, yeah, I usually do is there anyone online that's listening in that cannot come back for next week's meeting? So if we carry this over, I just want to make sure everybody that was hoping to talk to this tonight was able to join us again next week. All right, I don't see anyone in the room or on Zoom that has indicated that they cannot rejoin us next week. So it's been moved and seconded that we move the public hearing from tonight to next week. And I'm just going to wait till the clerk and attorney are done in case they're talking about this, just in case. Well, I'm gonna find out. Well, okay, but we're not, are we good? You guys? Okay. All right, so we'll do a roll call vote on moving this to next week.
Ms. Peron Lambros,
Yes.
Ms. Niedergang,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Sacks,
Yes.
Mr. Newland,
Yes.
carried.
Thank you. Now we're moving to resolutions. 23-380, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton to condemn and combat Islamophobia. I know we have a 6-page resolution in the package. And I see a member of. Oh, you just go ahead and introduce yourself and who you're representing.
Come up, okay. Um,
Oh, I'm sorry. 1 second. No, stay there. Don't move. I told you that I'm a little off tonight. So when someone, we just have to move the resolution, then we can have comment. My bad. Michelle's gonna move it. Eve's got the second. Is there public comment?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Nick DiDemizio. I'm a commissioner on the Civil Rights Commission, and I'm here to present this resolution on behalf of the commission this evening. Before I speak about tonight's resolution, I would like to express our gratitude for council for the unanimous passage of the anti-Semitism resolution that was added to the agenda earlier this year on January 23rd. At the time, the Civil Rights Commission wrote the resolution condemning and combating anti-Semitism with hopes that it would be a blueprint for additional resolutions that would address marginalized groups in our community. Shortly after passing the first resolution, the Civil Rights Commission began working on a second resolution to address the rising concern of Islamophobia in our community. We also acknowledge the overlap with global events, and we know there is high sensitivity with the timing of passing this resolution. We would like to emphasize that our resolution condemning Islamophobia is a standalone commitment to creating a community that rejects hatred in all its forms and does not take any position on current foreign affairs, just as the resolution condemning anti-Semitism did. The Civil Rights Commission voted at our last meeting to support council's statement, acknowledging and sharing the grief and trauma of our community in the wake of the horrific Hamas attack on and kidnapping of civilians in Israel, the outbreak of war that has ensued as a result. The Civil Rights Commission is also heartbroken about what has happened, what is yet to come, and the countless innocent civilians, Israelis, Palestinians, and others who will be harmed by further violence. We also stand in solidarity with the many local residents who are suffering due to the latest deadly escalation of this conflict. We mourn with those who have lost family and friends, and we plead for the speedy return of the hostages. We reaffirm our unwavering commitment to stand against anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. We urge members of our community to treat each other with respect and care, and to be mindful that many are experiencing trauma at this time. We want to reassure the community that the Princeton Police Department is in daily close contact with our faith communities and educational institutions to ensure the safety of all Princetonians. I'd like to now return to tonight's resolution. Islamophobia, like any form of discrimination, has no place in Princeton. We believe that passing this resolution will send a message that Princeton is committed to fostering an environment where everyone, regardless of their religion or faith, feels safe in their everyday life. We also hope that people know that reporting instances of discrimination or bias crimes to the police is of paramount importance. No matter how small you think the incident is, report it. The more that Princeton police know, the better they can educate, inform, and protect everyone in the area. As we move forward with this resolution, the Civil Rights Commission aims to follow our enabling ordinance to engage with the community and encourage dialogue and understanding. In closing, we appreciate that both resolutions have been put on council's agenda this year. The timing could not have been more critical. I also want to thank the commissioners who worked so tirelessly on both resolutions, each almost taking a year to create. We also thank former Commissioner Afshin Shamsi for drafting the language in tonight's resolution. And we're also sorry that our council liaison, Leticia Fraga, couldn't join us tonight. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just want to take a quick moment to acknowledge all the people who were.
Actually, could you just
Yeah.
say your name and address for the.
Oh, sure. My name is Afshin Shamsi. I live at 106 William Patterson Court, Princeton, New Jersey. Am I good to go now?
You're good to go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge all the people who were responsible for this resolution to come together. There was an incident of Islamophobia in our greater Princeton area that impacted congregants who actually reside in Princeton. And I want to thank the Civil Rights Commission, namely Nick and Sherrod, for reaching out to me to ask us how should we respond to this incident of hate against Muslims that happened, that affected Princeton residents. That's how the idea for the resolution was actually initiated, and we've been working on it all year long. The resolution was actually a collaborative effort. I co-authored it with my co-author Sami Shaban, who is on the Board of Education in Franklin Township. And then also we had help from MGage's policy director, Iman Awad, from ISPU, the Institute of Social Policy and Understanding, who provided statistics and data on helping us understand just how pervasive discrimination is. I want to thank Nick and the Civil Rights Commission for being great allies in this effort. And lastly, my community, who's been so willing to help and offer input. So with that, I'm just going to share some brief remarks. So thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for taking the step to bring this resolution and condemn hate in all its ugly forms. Assalamu alaikum is the traditional Muslim greeting, which means peace. Muslims believe the Quran, our holy book, is the divine word of God as revealed to the Prophet Muhammad through the angel Jibril or Gabriel. One of my favorite verses in the Quran is in chapter 49, where God states, "We made you into nations and tribes so that you may get to know one another." In the true spirit of Islam, I strive every day to get to know those around me. And in that spirit, I invite you today to get to know more about me as a Muslim and about my people, the Muslim American community, and our struggles with Islamophobia in the post 9/11 era. For everyone who has read the resolution, you know that the research shows that Islamophobia is pervasive, systemic, and is a threat to all, with my people experiencing anti-Muslim discrimination and hate in all aspects of our lives, including at school, work, when interacting with banks, on social media, when traveling at airports, at houses of worship, when voting, when seeking healthcare, and when interacting with law enforcement. Our children are not immune. Nearly half of Muslim families with school-age children have at least one child who has experienced religious-based bullying. Muslim children report that their classmates and sometimes even their friends will call them terrorists, in some instances as a joke. Alarmingly, 20% of Muslim families report that bullying happens nearly every day. 4 in 10 Muslim families with the child that has experienced bullying say that the bully was a teacher or a school official at school. And roughly 1 in 5 say that the bully was a teacher or a school official online. These findings shed light on cyberbullying as a major issue that Muslim families face and experience. My people are the most ethnically diverse faith group in the country, with a plurality that is 28% identifying as Black or African Americans. Muslims who are Black experience the same systemic racism that all of Black Americans face in their day-to-day lives, in addition to the religious discrimination faced by many Americans who are Muslim. In addition, data shows that my people are among the most likely of all minority groups to be victimized by incidents of hate. And such incidents are increasing at an alarming rate. Attacks on persons who are Muslim or perceived to be Muslim have grown significantly since September 11, 2001. According to the Council on American and Islamic Relations, a civil rights group, from 2014 to 2019, there were over 10,000 anti-Muslim bias incidents, which included over 1,000 anti-Muslim hate crimes. Muslim civil rights organizations, including those in New Jersey, are also reporting an exponential increase in hate crimes and bias incidents against Muslims in the aftermath of October 7th. I ask you to pause and take a moment to reflect on what it must be like for a Muslim child growing up in America to have so much hate directed at them, so that even their friends, and let me repeat that, their friends call them a terrorist. This happens in our Princeton public school systems as well, I'm sad to report. In the face of so much hate targeted at us, I cannot begin to imagine the anxiety experienced by Muslim women who observe the hijab or headscarf as they go about everyday tasks, such as grocery shopping or taking their children to the park. Can you imagine the anxiety they must experience? I will also share a personal story. As many of you know, my son Irtiza, or Irti as I affectionately call him, has autism. He's a wonderful and very independent young man. He loves to write cards and letters to family and friends, and will often go to the mailbox independently to mail cards he has written and to pick up the mail. Our mailbox is at the end of our street at the corner and not directly in front of our house. A couple of weeks ago, it was 8 p.m. at night and it was dark outside. I was on a Zoom meeting as he started to put on his jacket to mail some cards he had just written. I immediately stopped him and told him that we don't go out after dark anymore. If you know Irti, then you know once he gets an idea into his head, it's very difficult to dissuade him from that path. I tried very hard to convince him, but when he kept insisting, I finally had to say to Irti, there are people out there who want to hurt people like you and me. We do not go out after dark anymore. We will mail the letters tomorrow morning. He finally agreed, and after my meeting, I went upstairs to check on him and found him writing a letter to the Princeton Police Department asking them to keep us safe. I know that other communities of color have to have conversations about the very real dangers of the world with their children at much younger ages, but I'm truly grieved that I had to have this conversation with my son and was forced to share with him the very scary times that we're living in right now as Muslim Americans. This is not the first time the Muslim American community and I personally have felt this very real fear. My faith tradition, Islam, has always taught me to speak up for justice, to condemn hate, and to value our shared humanity. For this reason, I've spent most of my career, almost my entire career, working for causes that advance social justice. In the post 9/11 era, I chose to work for a Muslim civil rights organization, and as a spokesperson for the organization, I became a target of hate groups. I got hate emails and even threatening messages. I hope that our community would never have to face what it did in the post 9/11 ever again. And so I'm deeply grieved that the Muslim American community has now had to live through periods of deep hate and trauma 3 times over the last 2 decades. First through the post 9/11 era, then through the Trump era, and now in the aftermath of October 7th. What has made this horrific situation much worse has been the Islamophobic rhetoric of our leaders, which caused a loving landlord who had built a treehouse for a 6-year-old tenant, but was so radicalized by what he was hearing from our leaders and on the media that he brutally attacked and murdered Wadea al-Fayumi in Illinois. Weeks later, 3 Palestinian Muslim students, Yasin Ali Ahmed, Kenan Abdulhamid, and Hisham Awar Thani, were shot in Vermont. The Muslim community is reeling in the aftermath of these tragedies and is in a great deal of pain as we relive the trauma of the last 2 decades yet once again. We have indeed lived through and continue to live through some very scary times. I began today by sharing one of my favorite verses from the Quran, and I will close by sharing a hadith or a saying of our beloved Prophet Muhammad. Muslims are mandated by God to follow the Quran and the Sunnah or traditions of the Prophet. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever among you sees evil, let him change it with his hand. If he cannot do so, then with his tongue. If he cannot do so, then with his heart, which is the weakest level of faith." It is this saying of our Prophet that always compels me to speak out against injustice. And I know that all of our faiths and value systems call on us to act in the face of injustice. And so today, in honor of our shared tradition, I ask you to act against this rising tide of Islamophobia by voting yes for this resolution to condemn and combat Islamophobia. Will you join me and my people in speaking up against hate, against injustice, against Islamophobia? Thank you.
Thanks, Shashin. Okay. Any council comments, questions? Oh, you.
Thank you, Afshin, for that very powerful statement. And I was so sorry to hear your story about Urti and how you felt compelled to protect him in that way. And thank you, Nick, also for your eloquence, and to all the members of the CRC who I know have worked on it, who are here in support, some online, some in the room. So your work is very appreciated.
Okay. Oh, Leighton.
I just want to thank you for the statement and just offer that these are critically difficult times in the world that we live in. And my hope is that we do all we can as a nation, as a community, as a world, to bring about greater peace and understanding in all that we do everywhere. But thank you for offering that narrative. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Leighton. I'd like to thank you all for being here tonight for that, and for anyone who tuned in on Zoom for that also. All right, would everyone in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you very much. Next up is the statement of commitment. Does someone want to read the statement? Eve? I think so. It's, yes,
I can do that. It's short.
okay.
By adopting resolutions on Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, the municipality of Princeton reaffirms its unwavering commitment to stand against discrimination and hate. We urge members of our community to treat one another with respect and care, and to be mindful that many are experiencing trauma at this time. We want to reassure the community that the Princeton Police Department is in daily close contact with our faith communities and educational institutions to ensure the safety of all Princetonians.
Thank you. Does someone want to move that statement? Thank you, Michelle. Leighton's got the second. Any comment before we vote on it? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Next up is 23-381. Resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton supporting continuation of corporate business tax CBT at 2023 rate to fund critical open space, farmland, historic preservation, and hazardous site cleanup funding. Thank you, Eve. Is there a second? Michelle's got the second. Any questions or comments on that? All right, seeing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
23-382, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton supporting Green Amendment to the New Jersey State Constitution. Mia's got the motion. David's got the second. Any questions or comments on that? Eve?
Just want to say this resolution, the preceding one and the one after, all resolutions that came from our environmental commission. I know online and in the room, there are people who have advocated for this. So thank you for your advocacy. This one in particular, I think, is a commitment by this council to our future and to the youth of New Jersey and Princeton.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Oh, is there people here for this? So where did that?
Okay.
Did you? I know. No, sorry. That's where you pointed it out. Just make sure you didn't need to jump. Did you need to jump in and say anything about that resolution or? Oh, just come on up. Well, you don't have to, but no, come on up.
Haven't shared, but I guess I kind of know what I would like to say anyway. So, it's so great to be here today and know that the council's voting on this. I remember when I came here in October in support, and it's truly wonderful to see that the town council really cares, since this is so important to the youth. I'm in a number of organizations that are working towards, getting this in the state, because other states have done this. In Princeton High, we have a bunch of environmentally related clubs. My club personally works on these kinds of issues like legislative aspects, and I'm in the New Jersey Student Sustainability Coalition, which also has a team entirely dedicated to this. And yeah, it's truly wonderful that you guys are here to vote on this today, and I really, really am proud to be a Princeton resident and to have a council that supports this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elif, could you just say your name and address for the record?
I'm
Thanks.
Leaf, 195 Jonathan Eaton Court, Princeton.
Thank you. All right, next up is 23-383. Resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton opposing the expansion of New Jersey I-95 Turnpike. Does somebody want to, David's going to move that. Mia's going to second it. Questions or comments? And I'll be honest, I didn't have a chance to read this. Why are we opposing this? Just be good to know.
So the state has proposed putting, I think it's I don't know, billions of dollars into widening sections of the turnpike and replacing a bridge. And I think position of the Environmental Commission, my personal position is that the data pretty clearly show that, in general, widening roads does not decrease traffic. It just, does brings more cars. And so I think the pushes for this money to go in support of New Jersey Transit and other types of public transit, if a bridge needs to be repaired, fix the bridge. Do not create a situation for more heavy truck traffic. So that was the point.
Thank you.
My,
Michelle?
my only devil's advocate comment on this, first of all, I don't really know enough. But with the advent of Amazon and the increase in truck traffic everywhere, I quite frankly would prefer them to be on I-95 than rolling down 206 and down Stockton. I know that doesn't probably have anything to do with it in terms of traffic, but I certainly think that all of our small historic roads really can't handle truck traffic. So I'm not sure if this is meant to alleviate that traffic in any way. So I'm a little uncomfortable without more information, although I do trust my colleagues in the Environmental Commission and their this is a tough one. It's hard to weigh in on these things when it's really out of our jurisdiction. So, okay, thank you.
I think it's a tough one. I would only say that as somebody who drove over the Newark Bay Bridge for many years, that is terrible. And an expansion of that is an interesting idea. I don't know if that's the right answer or not. But as with so many public things that go on in public discussions and things, I mean, there's no obvious, easy answer or fix to so many things. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure we tossed a couple things out there. Anybody else with a comment? And then we'll vote on this.
Yeah, I would just say that in an era when we're trying to be less car dependent, it would seem to me that the turnpike would be in play. And if it's going to cost $1 gazillion for us to make more traffic on the New Jersey Turnpike, that's going to create more traffic, the data suggests, all over the state. Plus, it's going to cost a lot of money. I don't think it's a good idea.
Maybe we should just improve the train system.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
we put the money in the trains and the buses and
Okay, cool. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, I think that was everybody, right? Yeah, okay, thank you. 23-384, a resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton authorizing an affordability assistance loan, 133 Griggs Drive. Is there a motion on that one? Thank you, Mia. Is there a second? Thank you, David. Questions or comments on that? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
23-385, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton authorizing a one-year extension to the contract with We Drive You, Inc. for public transit services for $311,167.39. Leighton's got the motion and Mia's got the second. Questions or comments? Eve?
Yeah, I'm in support of this at this time, but I'd love to see us as we move forward to go out to bid for these services and see if there's a way that we can do this at a lower cost. I know we're getting our own buses, which I'm very excited about, our own electric buses. But just this is, I think, our fourth contract with We Drive You. So I'd just like to see what else is out there that might, provide this service possibly for fewer of our hard-earned tax dollars.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just to clarify, Deanna, we're looking at what, September timeframe maybe for the electric buses? So we'd have to we wouldn't be able to overlap now. I mean, it's going to be a good year before those are up and running. That's my understanding, or?
Correct. Pending any delays, it was a 9-month period to take delivery on the new buses.
Yeah.
And we purchased them, I think, within the last few weeks.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I see none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 23-386, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton amending the term of a professional services agreement with WSP USA Inc. for engineering services in connection with the design and permitting of rectangular rapid flashing beacons at the intersections of US Route 206 and Mansgrove Road and with Herrontown Road with no revision to contract amount. Is there, David's got the motion. Is there a second? Thank you, Leighton. Questions or comments? I will just say, if you ever try to cross 206 at Mansgrove, you better be quick because cars come flying down that road. Okay, I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
23-387, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing the award of a professional services agreement to, or is that Aurora and Associates? I probably pronounced that wrong. PC for engineering design services for the Riverside Drive East Culvert Replacement Project for $98,500. Is there a motion on that? Thank you, Eve. Is there a second? Thank you, Leighton. Questions or comments? Eve?
I have a brief comment and then a question. I just want to say this is part of council's systemic, okay, I can say that word, attention to both our sewer and stormwater infrastructure. So this is, I think, the fifth of a series of culvert replacements that are coming to us for approval of the design services. And then I think design will be done next year with implementation in 2025. But for Deanna, I picked up in the contract from Aurora, they say that they will determine a design for the culvert to safely pass the 25-year storm event. And I'm just wondering if that is what we should be designing to, given that we keep having 100-year storm events regularly. So, yeah.
Current state regulations as well as the municipal stormwater control ordinance require evaluating the system for the 100-year storm with a projection to the 2100 calendar year. So there's varying levels of evaluation that will happen as part of that drainage analysis. 25 years is just one of the storms.
Okay, other questions? I see none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
23-388, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing the deletion of billing for public sanitary sewer service for 14 Fairway Drive, Princeton, New Jersey, 08540. Is there a motion on that? Eve, thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Leighton. Questions or comments? Why are we doing this? I'm sorry. Does anybody, I didn't get that far through the,
Deanna?
oh, okay, never mind. I see I'm looking at the whereases. Okay, whereas it is unclear that 14 Fairway Drive property has a public sanitary sewer connection for which fees may be due. Okay, never, disregard the prior question. Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments that might be actually warranted? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 23-389, resolution of the mayor and council authorizing the award of a contract to SHI for Barracuda backup server and web security gateway appliances annual subscription for $51,714.60, utilizing the New Jersey Cooperative Purchasing Alliance contract number CK 0422-24. Is there a motion? Thank you, Michelle. Leighton's got the second. Questions or comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always good when we're investing in our IT infrastructure. I don't know if Bernie has any comments about this, or Deanna, in terms of, I think Phil has been really upgrading our systems. Is there anything particular about the system?
No, yeah, Phil, you're right. Phil has been upgrading our system. This is simply a renewal of a prior agreement with Barracuda for security. So I would recommend we pass it.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, no, just to back up what Michelle said, in agreement with that is that I think Phil actually led us to doing this agreement with Barracuda originally as a big improvement as you just stated, over what we
And,
had prior. to that.
enormous cost savings for identifying services that we're no longer using and getting rid
Yes.
of them. And I wish he
Yeah.
could do that for me at home.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that's
Minor
excellent.
detail.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 23-390, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton determining need for an affordable housing project to be located on Franklin Avenue, designated as lots 2, 26, and 27 in block 21.04 on the tax map of Princeton. Layton's got the motion, David's got the second. Questions, comments? We should probably offer just a couple comments as to what this means. Is the redevelopment committee want to take a stab at that, or?
I think the attorney is on the line. The affordable housing attorneys.
Okay,
Just raised his hand.
yeah. Hey, Adam, could you bring Kevin Van Heist on? All right, stand by. We're bringing the attorney on.
Mayor, can you,
Okay, Kevin?
yes, can you hear me now? Mayor?
There you go.
Okay, very good. Thank you. My screen is blanking out, so I'll just, so I can't see you, I guess, while I'm talking, but yes, thank you. Just briefly, both this item and the next item.
I can't hear
on-
anything. I
Okay.
can't hear
Hey,
Kevin.
Kevin, Kevin,
Yes.
just. a sec.
Yeah,
We're-
Adam, can we
we're
get more
adjusting-
volume from?
Yeah, Adam's doing that
Kevin.
right now. All right, hey, Kevin, just for the record, just state who you are so we have it for the minutes.
Oh, yes, very good. Kevin Van Heist, Mason Griffin and Pearson, Affordable Housing Council for Princeton.
Okay, you're good to go, Kevin. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you. And I appreciate the opportunity to zoom in. Just by way of brief introduction for, let's see, for this item and the next item on the agenda. Both of these have to do with the Franklin Maple project. As we're working through all of our compliance obligations and things, these are essentially two pro forma items that need to get done so that we can proceed with continuing satisfaction of our court obligations. As everyone will remember, the Franklin Maple project was included in our plan, and at the time, one of the lots was owned by Princeton Housing Authority. The municipality owned two other lots. And so at the time, we had done a three-party agreement with the authority, Community Investment Strategies, which is the developer, and the municipality. Last month, the municipality completed the acquisition of the Maple Terrace lot, which is known as Lot 2. And with that, we're in the process now of just updating our paperwork and having the agreement reflect the two parties instead of the three. And then the resolution of need is part of the mandatory court documents that allow municipally sponsored projects. Essentially, it's just the municipality affirming that there is a need for the housing that will be produced through the proposed project. So we'll need this just to submit to the court. And ultimately, when the project is ready for actual funding applications and that sort of a thing, it will need to be submitted as part of the HMFA requirements. So these are really two kind of pro forma documents that are just needed, and now is the time to get those in place as we get ready to enter the new year.
Thank you, Kevin. Any council questions or comments? Okay. I see a number of hands up, so we're gonna bring people in. Adam, could you bring the first person in? And just for everybody, as you come in on Zoom, if you would state your name and your address, and there's a 3-minute limit. Thank you. Okay. Jean?
Oh, thank you. Jean Durbin, Mount Lucas Road, Princeton. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. And good news that we're honoring our affordable housing obligations. I read the resolution and I had a couple questions, please. I see that it's 160 units, 80 affordable and 80 targeted for workforce housing. I was wondering what workforce housing means and how it will be enforced or managed to ensure that it, does what it's intended to do. I saw there was a 10-year timeline for the project to be built with assistance from the developer after 5 years seeking court extensions if it hasn't happened yet. So what if that fails? Will there be any repercussions to the taxpayers? And also, how will the pilot monies be directed and for what purpose? Thank you.
Thanks, Jean. Do we still have Kevin on? Adam, is Kevin still there? Adam, hey, Adam? I'm sorry, everybody. I just want to get the attorney back on. Maybe he can help us with some of the questions that Jean just asked.
Mayor, can you hear me now?
Yeah, sorry, Kevin. Go ahead.
Very good. Yes, I'm happy to answer those questions if you'd prefer. The agreement does provide for the 160 units, which are 80 affordable, 80 workforce housing. That's essentially the mixed income type of housing. This is a kind of a special product type that will allow both the affordable housing compliance units and also that what we've kind of commonly called as like the missing middle. So they will not essentially fulfill COA credit, but what the market rate units allow to advance two very important goals. One is to help with the funding assistance for the project, which reduces the municipal contributions that would be required for the project, and also allows Princeton to provide housing for essentially what we've commonly, looked at as, the teachers and the police officers that may make more than the affordable housing income restricted units. But are still not able to actually, get into the other market rate apartment units that are around. The agreement does provide for an extended time frame. We are not anticipating that it will need that at all. There are upcoming funding rounds in the upcoming year. But the agreement does provide in case there are any unforeseen delays or anything like that. But on average, these.
Sorry, I don't think that was Jean's question.
That was one of
It was Jean's, was that
That
Jean?
was one of them. Yes. So there were three questions. One had to do with the number of units. The second one had to do with a provision in there for a 10-year timeline to be built, but we are not anticipating that it would take that at all. And that would, frankly, essentially, we would have to go back for court approval for that anyway. And then the last was how would the pilots be directed? As of now, the 6.28% pilot, which is provided for in the agreement, is an HMFA requirement, and that will essentially go to the municipality for providing for the funds and municipal services associated with this project. But that is essentially non-discretionary because that's an HMFA requirement for municipally sponsored projects.
Kevin, thank you. Let me just ask you one follow-up on that, just to be clear on the units that aren't part of the affordable units. But is there going to be a process similar to the affordable unit process to determine that people meet or within that missing middle type of range, or how are we do we have an idea yet how we're going to do that?
I'm not sure exactly how that will be administered. There will be essentially an application process, and that will all be coordinated by Community Investment Strategies, or CIS, and this is what they do. This is what they specialize in.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Kevin, if you could just hang on. Adam, let's make sure we keep Adam, let's make sure we keep Kevin as a panelist there, so in case we need his help with other questions. Adam, could you then bring the next person that had their hand up, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Hi, this is Anita Groniak, 1 Harris Road. I'm just wanted to say that I'm disappointed and disheartened that there's been no communication with this neighborhood, the neighborhood around the Franklin lot since I believe it was 2010, even though there's been a series of meetings about design and a committee was formed to receive input. There is not even a friendly communication about this step to those of us who you are aware are living close to the lot and are very much impacted and actively involved. The meetings in the past were probably in response to a petition that we circulated. It had hundreds of signatures on it, supporting affordable housing, but asking for a decrease in density. There's been nothing but silence since then. So what is this neighborhood, chopped liver? That's my comment.
Thank you, Anita. Adam, can we bring in the next person that had their hand up, please? Maria?
Hi, good evening. I have a similar question. I'd like to ask for
Maria,
more.
I'm sorry. Can you state your name and address for the minutes?
My apologies. Maria Juega, Robert Avenue, Princeton. I'd like some more clarification because my understanding is that Mr. Van Heijs referred both to market rate and workforce development housing. I think they're two different and distinct things. My understanding is that workforce housing is specifically limited or aimed at households that earn between 80 to 120% of the area median income. And there's an official legal definition as well as certain subsidies that would apply to that kind of housing. Is that what is intended for the 80 units, or are we talking about market rate units? Can you clarify that, please?
Sure. Kevin, can you help us with that one?
And I do have a follow-up question.
Okay, let's try to get that one answered. Kevin?
So right now, the intention is to go for workforce housing. Our settlement agreement with Fair Share, and it was approved by the court, provides for the 80 affordable housing units and with the balance, whatever the mix would be. So we are targeting workforce housing, but to the extent that the economics and or funding mechanisms and funding programs may direct to something else, we're at least keeping the options open. But at this point, we are intending to go with workforce housing.
Thank you, Kevin.
Right. So this would be limited to that particular bracket of income levels, if possible. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay. The follow-up question is that I understand under the workforce housing, there can be a local preference. Is that also true? And are we considering that option?
Kevin?
On that, I'm not sure. I'd have to re-verify that. And that would be, and if it's possible, that would be something to be considered if and when we're ready to proceed with the development.
Okay. So Maria,
Okay.
that's a maybe.
Yeah.
So we don't have a definitive answer.
I'll-
May I
I'm sorry.
suggest
Oh, I'm
that
sorry.
May I suggest that the ordinance be a little more specific then to specify that the preferred intention is go for workforce housing and what that means so that the public knows what we're talking about? Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just go. I think, Michelle, you were trying to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessary for this particular resolution, but Maria, I would say that that's something that's really important to us and we've talked about. Employers in town really need workforce housing for people who live here. So yes, I mean, the intention would be as much as we can legally do that. We certainly have the desire to do that. So I can say that we will try to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, and I just wanted to try and nail Kevin down a little bit more because I actually have heard a different definition, or at least for middle income, which is 80% of the median income to 200% rather than 80 to 120, as Maria suggested. So are those two different things, the middle income and the workforce housing, that overlap each other? Or Kevin, do you know whether there's a specific category, that only comprises that 80% to 100%, 120% of median?
There are two different categories. I don't remember what the exact percentages are for each, but I do know that they have been referred to separately by the state.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I just want to say this level of detail is premature for tonight. That's not what tonight is about. To Anita's comment, the reason why there has not been communication or discussion about this is because this really has not moved forward. The council has been focused on satisfying the obligations of our affordable housing settlement that were previously in queue. This is the last project that's in the queue. As most people know, there was an ongoing discussion about which parties were going to be involved with this. The project was not able to progress until the situation with the municipality and the Princeton Housing Authority was resolved. Just recently, as the attorney mentioned, we completed the purchase of the additional site in order for this project to progress. This statement that what we are voting on tonight is several years overdue to the court. The fact that we haven't already as a town experienced penalties as a result of the delay in this is simply because of the unfolding situation, the fluidity in the situation with the housing authority. Really, tonight is just about the municipality indicating that we are committing these financial resources and that we acknowledge that this is our obligation, that it's part of our settlement, and this is something that's due to the court. I actually did not realize that this was on the agenda for tonight until it came out in the agenda packet, which is unfortunate. But that's sometimes how things go with legal processes. I hope that we will have greater communication with the neighborhood going forward, that we'll have more advance notice from our attorneys and other parties that are involved with this court process. But tonight, in terms of this level of detail about it should really, the individual who should be answering these questions about the project is the developer, who is not part of this, because tonight is really about the council just providing what we need to the court. So I just want to make that clear. There will be but for sure, this project is now moving forward to be front and center, and there will be communication with the neighborhood.
Thank you, ma'am.
I just answered my own question. I found on HMFA's website that 80 to 120%, as Maria indicated, is defined as workforce housing.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Adam, the magic person in the back technology room, could you bring in the next person? Virginia?
Hi, my name's Virginia Kerr. I live on Jefferson Road. I have a lot of questions about this, which I just found out about a couple of hours ago. So I guess I'm going to start with the definition of workforce housing, and the language is targeted for workforce housing. So I'm taking this to mean that this will have workforce housing if it can be worked out, that it's not a mandate. And my question is, am I right about that? My second question is about the municipal contribution, which is, at one point it says the municipality is going to contribute $500,000, but we're also selling the land for 3 million. And as I understand, the land was appraised at 8 million. So wouldn't it also be correct to see the municipal contribution as 5 million, an additional 5 million? And there are also additional waivers. I'm not sure, I think Jean asked a question about the pilot. Will there be a pilot? Does this developers agreement, it's long, well, it's not that long, but it is hard to sort of skim through it. Is there going to be a pilot? And if so, what is the pilot? And finally, just because I don't have enough time, I'm concerned about the amount of I'm concerned about Maple Terrace and Franklin Terrace and the people who are living there now, because that is public housing. And I believe that their incomes are probably 16 to 20% of this average number. And it looks to me on I think it's a page 6, where it talks about affordable housing requirements. It says that only 11 of the affordable units will be very low income units, which is 9 fewer than the public housing units that are now in Maple Terrace and Franklin Terrace. So, I mean, I really don't think that we should be reducing the number of very low income units. And I also have a question about the definition and whether or not the numbers or the percentages here are going to create rents that are affordable to people in the current Maple Terrace and Franklin Terrace. And I find that very concerning. And also, I mean, this is a developer's agreement, so it is important. And, maybe if some council members have only seen it at the last minute, just as the bicycle resolution was deferred, maybe this should be deferred too. Thank you.
Thank you, Virginia. Kevin, do you want to try to jump in on some of those?
Sure. Again, well, on whether it's workforce and at that point, that's our goal, but we'll see how that works out as the project develops. The municipal contributions, as council is well aware, for whatever reason, municipal contributions counted by HMFA when they're looking at tax credits and the other programs are essentially on the municipality's cash contributions. So whether we donate the land or have financing arrangements that are alternative, and that do actually in reality result in municipal subsidies for the project for purposes of the developers agreement and HMFA financing, it's essentially, it doesn't matter because what the HMFA is evaluating is essentially the cash aspects of it. So whether or not it goes in for higher contributions, the agreement is essentially setting forth what's going to help and assist with any HMFA funding applications. The pilot questions were covered with Ms. Durbin's questions. As far as the very low income units, the agreement and frankly, our settlement agreement calls for compliance with the affordable housing requirements. And so those percentages are in line with the COA's requirements. If there are opportunities to expand those opportunities, certainly we can speak with CIS as this progresses, but recognize that in order to financially underwrite the project and ensure that sufficient rents are able to support the debt service that goes along with it.
Kevin, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Virginia has not understood. There's nobody still remaining on the site. She's thinking about the residents who were living there as part of the Princeton Housing Authority, who've been relocated to other Princeton Housing Authority units. So they're no longer on the site. Virginia has misunderstood that.
Okay.
So you know that.
Perfect.
And the housing authority covers a whole class of housing that is beneath the lowest category that COA covers. And so in Princeton, the housing authority covers those individuals who are not part of the state framework, which is a category that's above that.
So let me just jump in on the pilot, Kevin, if I remember correctly, it's a maximum of not greater than 6.28% of the project revenues. And the cost, which Virginia asked about, I think we talk about $500,000 in the agreement. And then we could also, if we want to, say that the actual cost includes the cost to us to buy the property from Princeton Housing Authority. So I think those answer Virginia's questions.
And I think, sorry, when Virginia says, is there a pilot? She's thinking about a pilot in the context of an inclusionary project where you negotiate a pilot. This is not a negotiated pilot. This is a pilot that is mandatory for the municipality to accept as what this entity will pay, which is lower than ad valorem taxes, and which we take a hit. It's less than we provide in terms of municipal services. It's not something that we negotiate. It's statutory, and it's not a voluntary contribution, nor is it a pilot that is the sort of pilot that we would negotiate as part of an inclusionary housing. So
Thank you. Okay, Adam, could you bring in the next person? Michael?
Okay. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I really don't want to get into the
Hey,
weeds,
Michael,
so
but we need you to state your name and street you live on.
of course, Michael Floyd, Harris Road. Don't want to get into the weeds much more. I would be more comfortable. I understand you need to pass the resolution and submit it to the court, to the judge. And to have a agreement attached, but could it be in draft form? As presented, it's presented like it's final form. And I do have some questions about that specifically. You know, people have covered the workforce. That's just one thing. Is it possible that this wouldn't be final form?
Kevin, can you jump in and help us with that one?
If it wasn't going to be final form, we wouldn't have it on the agenda is the simple answer. Yeah, I mean, it's on here because we're going to work on finalizing this. That's why it's on.
Okay, I wish that workforce, which is the only term in there, there's no more missing. Middle was a defined term. As people have said, as recently as October, specifically, HMFA has started a new workforce housing grant program or soft grant program, and it is defined at the 80 to 120. I noticed there's no process detailed regarding how the developer will work with the municipality, whereas before, when there was the subcommittee, Franklin Task Force, and then afterwards, you know, the public was given a process that you were going to work through, basically a design process, taking what came out of the subcommittee and then dealing with an architect. Is none of that applicable anymore?
Either Kevin or redevelopment.
I'm here. That's really going to be a question for the redevelopment committee and the developer as we move forward with the project. Essentially, as Ms. Sachs had indicated before, this is essentially just lining up and updating the agreements and our obligations in light of the fact that the authority is no longer a party to this transaction.
Well, yeah, regardless of the authority, you had the task force recommendations is what I was saying. I would hope that would be in the developer's agreement. Some consideration will be given to that and to the neighbors. But if it's not going to be that way, so be it. I think it should be. And lastly, you did put, it will be 160 units. I take it, it will no longer be up to 160.
At this point, we have an 80 affordable housing unit requirement. So the 160 gets us to the 80 affordable units on a 50-50 mix. If that changes and we're able to accommodate the required affordable housing units with a different mix, then we'll just come back with an amended agreement.
Okay.
Okay.
I think David wanted to,
Yeah, I just really quickly wanted to say, Michael, that my understanding or my recollection of the purpose of the task force was to come up with the design guidelines, which we did do. Those have been given to the developer with the expectation that they will inform the design. And I certainly will be looking at the design as it moves forward, I think, along with the redevelopment committee. But I don't really think there was an intention to have a broad public process overseeing the design as it moved forward. My understanding of those design guidelines was that process was the public input process. And then in terms of the number of units, what we've understood all along is that the fewer units we have on the site supporting the 80 affordable units, the more the cost would be to the municipality and the taxpayers. So again, through that task force design guideline process, there was not a conclusion that sort of said that it should be fewer than the 160 units. And we can always look at it as we go forward, but we have concerns about the added cost to the taxpayers if we do that.
so, right. I would just say this. I think the economics would probably not work out if it's not the 160 units, especially if we're trying to do that workforce housing component, right? I mean, let's just be
I think
realistic
that's
with
a
it.
fair statement.
Yeah, I mean,
Although there are subsidies that go along with the workforce housings. I don't know very much about those programs. It's pretty new.
right. I mean, we'll investigate those, but I just want to be, I mean, since the public's asking, I think we should just try to be as I don't mean to phrase it that way, but I'm just saying we should just try to put the discussion in as realistic options as possible, that it's probably going to be the 160 units. I don't see how it financially is going to be feasible otherwise, no matter what we might think about whether that's a good number or a bad number. But let me just ask a question on the final design. Are we saying that CSI has the final design and we have no input, that we're not going to know what the final design is? Or I'm not sure what you just said, so I'm asking again.
Yeah, we have input, but they're hiring the design architect. So, and the design team, the engineering team, which is very much the case with all of the projects that we've done to meet the affordable housing obligation, is the developers have come with their designers. They've and we've collaborated with them to.
So the redevelopment committee will collaborate with them on you'll have some input on the design. I'm just it's a sensitive site. The neighbors have taken part quite a bit. So I just want to make sure that all the past comments and concerns aren't suddenly.
I just want to say
dropped.
that I think there's every intention to have the neighborhood involved. There is no concept plan. Tonight was really, I don't think, unfortunately, that these questions have been, these are all TBD questions. It's just that to Michael's point, the state was working on this funding source for workforce housing, which has now finally been released. And we were waiting for that in order to file this document with the court. I will say we were caught somewhat off guard tonight that this came up, but I also know that that Princeton, for most of this process, has been playing catch up and has been behind since we had a 41-day trial to fight our obligation. So, you know, we are, I think, don't want to be exposed to any sort of builder's remedy.
Yep.
And that is the reality of affordable housing in New Jersey at this point. And we wanted to get this filed with the court, which it's several years overdue. In terms of these details, I hope that we can accommodate the neighborhood as much as is realistically possible, given the time constraints that we're under, which are severe.
Thank you. I think that's very helpful in the public understanding what's going on, that we're kind of caught in a bureaucracy here. Kevin, I just want to say, and not to pin you down on anything, but hopefully our comments about where the design is going to go and us having some influence on that there is some way that we are able to be involved in that process. So whatever you can do as you're talking to the developer and whatever we need to do agreement wise, that would be good to keep that in mind.
Absolutely. And Chris Folio, the principal at CIS, has essentially committed to that. And that's one of the reasons why getting the agreement in place will allow us, as we get into the new year, to actually start engaging in that process. Again, as Mia had indicated, you know, none of that has been done yet. So this will allow us to kind of start and turn the page. And yes, we will be an integral party in the ultimate design, as frankly we have been with all the municipally sponsored projects that you know, we've had input and the developers have been very kind to try to incorporate as much as possible the concerns that council brings back on behalf of the residents for the development scheme.
Okay, Kevin, thank you. Any other council comments or questions on this one? No, and Michael, I just want to say we cut you off. Sorry about that you got dropped while you were still asking that last question, or while we were trying to answer it. Okay. All in favor of 23-390, number 12, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next up, related to that, is 23-391. Resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton authorizing affordable housing and development agreement for a municipally sponsored affordable housing project to be located on Franklin Avenue, designated as lots 2, 26, and 27 in block 21.04 on the tax map of Princeton. And if someone would, thank you, Leighton, for moving that. Michelle's got the second. Any questions or comments? I think we pretty much answered everything already. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next up is the consent agenda. If no one has a problem with anything in the consent agenda, it could be moved in block. Michelle, second by Eve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's everyone. David,
Move to adjourn.
is there a second? Thank you, Michelle. All in favor, say aye.
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 We're done. Thank you
Night.
all. Thanks for everybody for tuning in.
Thank you.